Hey everyone, I'm Day in the Life of an Island Wife, and welcome to DLIW in the Kitchen. Let me tell you about my cooking show. I love to cook. Those of you who know me, you know that I love to provide good meals for my family. I love to have friends over sitting around my table enjoying a good meal. And I love to share those recipes with you. So come along with me. First of all, let me ask you, take one quick moment to hit the subscribe button, and that way you can be alerted when I upload new recipes. Also, follow me on social media, Day in the Life of an Island Wife on Instagram and on Facebook. All right, so now that we've gotten that business out of the way, today we're going to be doing a favorite. I polled some of my WhatsApp friends groups and I'm like, what would you all like to see me cook? And you all came back with a lot of really good ideas, but the number one thing was curry chicken. And I was like, what? You all don't know how to make curry chicken? That's fine. I'm going to show you. And you know, my upbringing, you all know, my dad is Jamaican, my mother is Bahamian, and truthfully, curry chicken is not really a Bahamian dish, even though we love it here in the Bahamas, right? And actually, it didn't originate in Jamaica, even though I know a lot of Jamaicans would like to say they make the best curry, right? Well, it actually originated in India, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that as I'm cooking. And we would like to thank our very first sponsor, Child of God. Thank you so much to COG Ministries. We appreciate the sponsorship of my show today, and you all make sure you go and follow them on social media as well. All right, so let's get started cooking with DLIW in the kitchen. So we're gonna season the chicken now, and this is the fun part. So I have about 3 pounds of portion wings, and I chose portion wings because it's easy. You're not dealing with different parts of the chicken and different weights and thickness here. So this is really easy, and it's a great start for you to learn how to make curry chicken, all right? So let's start first with the spices. I wanna talk to you about the different spices that I use because I've told you I'll tell you some of the history about curry, and curry really isn't like a seasoning. It's like an amalgamation of different seasonings all put together, seasoned meat, seasoned stew. So that's really curry, what curry is. It's not just one seasoning. Now I am a, I am loyal to Beta Pack curry, and this is Beta Pack curry here. It comes out of Jamaica. As far as I'm concerned, there is no better curry on the market, all right? Y'all can fight me on this. You can debate me as much as you want to, but I believe in Beta Pack curry, and I love these little tiny cute packets, so we're gonna be using those. Now, one of my friends, she is from Guyana, and she's a chef, Cece Payan. You'll meet her because I'm gonna bring her on to teach us some stuff. But she also introduced me to Layla's Madras curry powder, and I always like to put a little bit of Layla's in my curry because it's really, really nice. So of course we've got some salt. Salt is really important. We've got a mixed seasoning, garlic powder. You're gonna know that Stacy loves her some garlic powder. We've got black pepper. We've got cumin. It's so important. I just love cumin. It just brings back great memories. We've got some onion powder. We've got, 3 different things here. We've got fresh thyme. I believe in fresh thyme. We've got bay leaves, and let me pull them out. We also have some pimento seeds. So to me, that's the trifecta that you got to have in most of your cooking. Here we've got some coconut milk, full fat coconut milk, because I put coconut milk in my curry. Yes, I do. A little bit of sugar, and then y'all know I don't cook anything without Grandma Audrey's pepper sauce, okay? That is so necessary, even though to know me is to know that I don't like a whole lot of pepper, but I just believe in having a little bit of pepper sauce, and you can adjust that to your liking. So let's get started, okay? First, I'm going to cut open our curry, and I'm going to actually use 1 pack in the seasoning of the chicken, and then we're going to burn the curry, and I'll teach you about that. So let me put on my gloves, because honey, curry will stain your hands, so you want to be very careful. And usually when you're dealing with meat, I think that it is very important for you to use gloves, all right? Now, when it comes to chicken, I know that there's a great debate of whether you wash your meat or not. Honey, we are always going to be washing the meat in my kitchen. This has always already been washed with salt, with lime, and some vinegar, okay? I don't play around with washing the meat. You do what you got to do, I'm gonna do what I do, all right? So this meat is already washed. So we're gonna start, and we are going to sprinkle on this Beta Pack curry. Just like that, we're just gonna sprinkle it on in there. Then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of the Laylas. And you know, I'm one of these people that I kind of like, you know, listen to what the ancestors say, tell me when to stop. But if I have to guesstimate, we probably are going to use about a teaspoon of the Laylas, and we're going to use about a half teaspoon of salt. Salt is really important to use. I know, you know, I don't use other seasonings that have salt in them, so I don't have to be as careful. Again, I would probably say we're going to use about a teaspoon of black pepper, and we'll use about a teaspoon and a half of this cumin. Yeah, I love cumin. That's just one of my favorite spices, yes. So then we've got the mixed spice here. This does have a little bit of salt in it, and that's why I won't add as much salt, but we put that mixed spice. And I know to some people this seems like a lot of seasoning, but it's really important to use seasonings. It's so important. Garlic powder, we're gonna use probably about 2 teaspoons of that garlic powder and about a teaspoon of the onion powder. All right, so those are our main seasonings that we're gonna put in, and then we're just going to work it on in. We are going to massage the meat, make sure, and you know, I take it and I wipe around the edges of the bowl to get any of those dry seasonings that are around the edges. And while I'm doing this, I am massaging the meat. You see, like literally like massaging the seasonings into the meat. That's really important. Now, ideally, you're going to season this meat ahead of time. You're going to put it maybe in a Ziploc bag or an airtight container. You're going to put it in the refrigerator overnight. That is ideal. But let's be for real. Most of us don't have, you know, too much lead time when it comes to dinner. So just, you know, getting a good mix on this and letting it soak in for just a little while is enough. All right. So another thing I should say is when you are dealing with meat, you want to be careful and make sure that you're washing your hands. Okay. So I'm going to go wash my hands, and then we're going to cut up our herbs. So our chicken is already seasoned, and it is sitting and it is marinating in all of those wonderful, delicious herbs and spices. And next we have got to cut up our herbs. So let me go through all of the different ones that we use. Fresh garlic. This is so very important to use fresh garlic. I know some of you like to use the garlic in that jar, but try to get used to using some fresh garlic. But if you don't have it, you can use that one. This is fresh ginger. You can also use the ginger paste that comes in that tube. It's also really good. And then we've got red onion. I know you're used to using yellow or white onion, but I have an adopted sister, right, who is from India, and they use red onion in their curry, and trust me, it makes a difference, okay? So you're learning some stuff here on DLIW in the kitchen. We've got carrots. I love carrots in my curry. We have got Idaho potatoes, just regular, you know, potatoes. Scallion, you cannot cook curry without some scallion. And then I also put tomatoes in mine. So we're gonna get busy cutting all this stuff up. First of all, these are things that you need in your kitchen. This is a small grater. And we just literally just grate the garlic right here on this fine grater, all right? You just grate it down like that. Get it all in there. It does not have to be perfect. It never has to be perfect. You're cooking for your friends and you're cooking for your family. I am not a chef. I'm just a person who likes to cook, and you know, I've gotten, I think, pretty good at it. And right behind that garlic, we're then going to grate our ginger. So that's 3 cloves of garlic. And then this is about, you know, a finger of ginger, like you measure your little half of your thumb, I guess. A lot of this is just kind of guessing along. I'll write out a recipe for you, so don't worry. But we're going to grate that ginger down. And, you know, I'm not trying to take my finger off, so I leave a little piece. So there you look. You have it. Look at that. Look at all that ginger right there. And it looks so nice. And I just scrape off the little extras along the back of the grater here. And we move on. Look, I'm not trying to waste any of it. So good. We've got that there. So we've got our nice little pile of ginger and garlic there. Then we move on. Again, another thing that you need to have in your kitchen is this. It's a potato peeler. And look how easy this is. These carrots have already been washed. And so you just go in and you're just going to peel your carrot. Look at how fast that is. You're just going to peel your carrots just like this. We're going to do the same for the potatoes, right? Look at how fast this is. you can cut up. You do want to be careful that you don't cut yourself because obviously this is a blade and it's sharp. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to cut our onions. You always want to make sure that you've got a really sharp knife. Again, I told you, I am not a chef. I don't know what the fancy way of cutting things up is, but I just know that you have to be really careful. And you see chefs and they always got their little fingers bent in like this because you're not trying to cut off the tip of your fingers. So let's be really careful. But when you have a sharp knife, you don't even have to push that hard. And these don't have to be super fine or anything. It's no special way that they need to be cubed or just whatever. Just cut it up. And so I do them along the way like that, and then I cut them this way. So they're actually pretty good chunks. Now I use onions twice in this dish, all right? So I've got the first part that gets cooked down with the chicken initially, and then coming in near the end, I bring in and throw in a little more onion that goes along with the tomato and the scallion, all right? So that I'm probably just gonna cut in half just like that. And we're gonna put this to the side here, okay? And then we are going to cut up our tomatoes. So I cut off the end there. And again, there's no rhyme or reason to how this has to be cut up. Just cut them up because it's just gonna go and get thrown into the pot and it's gonna cook down anyway. So no one is coming to judge you on how your tomatoes or how your herbs and vegetables are cut up, okay? Just cut them, just chunky, nice and chunky. I just cut them up, and again, you're just gonna just like throw them in a bowl right here. I like the depth and the layers of flavor that it offers. So this is what I do. Another thing that you can add to your curry that is really good is you can add some pumpkin if you like pumpkin, okay? Then we are just gonna cut up our scallion because this is gonna get thrown. I always like to like cut off those little ends that were exposed, and we push those over to the side. And then we just cut it. I like to use actually this knife here. I don't know what about that knife I like more, but yeah. And this is gonna get thrown, and I bring it all the way down, all the way down. Yes, you can use the white part, and I bring it down. Of course, you don't use a little bushy part at the end, but we use all of that, right? All right, so we're just cutting up all of our herbs and our vegetables, getting ready to cook, all right? So again, when it comes to the carrots, no real rhyme or reason. I'm gonna introduce you all to the mandolin pretty soon, where you can get nice even cuts. But right now, we're just cutting up this carrot. We're being very careful. We don't wanna cut our hand, of course. It gets to the thicker parts. And then I tend to like cut these in halves and do our thing that way. No real rule. Yum, yum, yum. This adds so many layers of flavor to your curry. I love putting fresh vegetables into my meats and into my stews. I love a sauce, a good sauce. And, you know, you don't have to rush. You know, when you're in the kitchen, I can actually slow down just a little bit. I'm just rushing because, you know, I'm a mom and I'm used to only having a few minutes to get things done. But you really don't have to rush when it comes to, you know, preparing these meals, all right? Good. And then next, we are going to cut up our potatoes. I think I'm going to go back to my bigger knife here, and we're going to cube. Now, I cube some of the pieces bigger, and then I cut some of them smaller because those are going to cook out, and that's going to help to thicken your curry, okay? So remember that. I cut these pieces nice and big because I like the good flavor on them. I like the flavor that it brings. If it's gonna be a little while before you use the potatoes, you do want to put them in water so they don't turn brown, okay? So just remember that. And we're just gonna cut these up. All right, so this is the whole process. It really does not take long. I know it feels like, oh, there's so many steps that I've got to do to get this prepared. It really doesn't take that long to make this a really great meal to put on the table. And also, curry is one of those dishes that does taste better over time. So you can prepare this, you know, today, and it can be ready and it can be eaten, you know, 2 or 3 days later, as long as it's in the refrigerator. And one of the things you have to make sure you do is cool it properly. You never want to put food. If you're going to be prepping, some people prep like on the weekend for the week. If you're going to be prepping, you want to make sure that you are cooling it properly before you put it into the refrigerator. Okay, that's just a little tip from DLIW for you. This last potato, we're going to cut a little smaller just to make sure that that's going to cook out in the curry. Let it cook down and thicken up your curry. All right, so we're probably gonna cut this threes and threes, and that way it can be cut up a little smaller, all right? These are a little smaller because we know that these are gonna cook down, and like I said, that's gonna thicken your gravy, which we just love. Who doesn't love some good curry gravy over the rice, right? Yeah, so now we are getting near the end of preparing our potatoes, and then we're gonna get to the real fun part where we get started with cooking and putting this whole meal together, all right? But prep is important, and you don't want to start like cooking before you prep everything. As you get more experienced in cooking, yes, you can do that. But for those of you who aren't really that confident in the kitchen, you don't want to get started doing too many things at one time, all right? Now that we've got everything cut up, we're going to get to the fun part, and we're going to cook the curry chicken. Y'all, we're getting to the really fun part where we are going to start cooking the curry chicken. So now I'm going to share a secret with you. And my mother, Joanne, she always believed that you have got to put your meat in some hot fat and get a little brown on it, as she says. So when I am cooking my curry, this is what I do. So we're going to get this fire started, nice big hot fire. And one of the things with wings is going to draw its own oil, all right? So they're very, greasy, or they're a fatty part of the chicken. So you don't even need to add any oil into the pan when it comes to cooking curry and you're doing the wings. Now, if you're gonna be cutting up like a whole chicken and cooking that, then yeah, you might wanna add a little bit of oil into the pan. So what I'm gonna do, we get our pan nice and hot, and then I'm going to start putting the chicken into the pan. But the pan should be hot enough that when you're putting the chicken in there, you should actually hear like a little bit of shh, on there. So you wanna see, there we go. That's the sound that we're looking for when you put that in there. And we are going to get this chicken going. You don't want to crowd your pan because you're not trying to like really steam the chicken. You're really just trying to get it nice and brown, okay? And what I typically do is I will put the same pieces of chicken, because they cook at even size. So you put all the drumettes together, or you put all the little wing parts, or the flats as they call them, together. So I'm gonna kind of separate those here, and I'm gonna show you how they look in here in just a moment, all right? If you want to speed this up, and for television, I could add just a little bit of oil for TV, just so we speed up this browning process just a little bit, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. And once again, we don't want to crowd the pot because we're not trying to steam this chicken. I have it on a high heat. As you can see, the heat under there, I have it nice and high because we want it to get brown. We want the chicken to kind of brown. I don't know Joanne's theory behind that, but look, I have never gone away from it, and when I'm always able to taste, because her theory is that it takes that raw flavor away from the chicken, so yeah, that's what it is. So we're just gonna let this cook down and brown on each side, and probably you need about 3 or 4 minutes on each side of the chicken. And I know that this is a step you feel like yet another step, but it makes all the difference in the cooking. So here we are at that point. We've got the first batch that is out, and you see how nice and brown this is. Ooh, so brown and yummy. It makes all the difference in the taste of your curry chicken, all right? That's the secret that you get from Day in the Life of an Island Wife. You can take that with you, okay? I promise you that. So then we're gonna pull this out, because the next step we're gonna do is go into the traditional of burning the curry, all right? And again, very, very important step. I know some people are like, but there's a taste. Curry will be bitter if you don't take the time to burn it first, okay? So then we're gonna go in with a little bit of oil. And I did, like I explained, I did end up adding some oil to kind of rush in the, cooking of that. So here we are. We've got the betta pat curry. We're gonna put that into the oil, and this is what they call burning the curry. And I told you I also use a little bit of Layla's. And then you're gonna move it around in the oil, all right? You're gonna move, this is burning the curry. And now you literally don't want to actually burn it, so you do wanna be careful, and might wanna add a little more oil in there, yeah. All right. And then you're just gonna basically like moving it around. So now we're gonna dump in our potatoes. and we're gonna dump in our carrots, all right? Because those take pretty long to cook, so we wanna get those in there and get the heat working on them to kind of soften them up a little bit, all right? So we're gonna get that moving around. Curry smells so good. Like I said, I like using a good bit of curry. There's some people that they don't use a lot of curry, and I'm like, where's the curry flavor? All you got is a little bit of color. Now we're gonna put that garlic and ginger that we grated down, we're gonna put that in there, and we're gonna move this around as well. Now the scents really start smelling good. We're gonna keep those moving. So delicious. Yum, yum, yum. So then we're gonna add a little bit of water into this. So you all give me just a moment. I'm gonna get a little bit of water that we're gonna add into the pot, all right? I'm gonna put a little bit of water in this. We're gonna turn the fire back up. We're just gonna add a little bit of water, not too much. I'm just gonna add a little bit. Because I do also add coconut milk in here, so you don't want too much liquid. So that's a little bit of the water that we added in there. Got the fire nice and hot. We have all of that moving around. So this is where I'm gonna add a little bit more seasoning in. I'm gonna add a little bit more garlic powder, a little bit more onion powder. We're gonna put these herbs in, all those herbs we talked about, the bay leaf, fresh thyme, and we've got those wonderful pimento seeds, which I got off my cousin's tree. Hello, she's got a tree in her yard. We're also gonna add in some of that Grandma Audrey's pepper sauce, honey. I don't cook a pot without some of that Grandma Audrey's pepper sauce. I'm gonna add a little bit more water in. I'm left-handed, so I gotta keep this in my left hand, all right? And this is where we go ahead and we add our chicken back to the pot, just like that. And all those juices, I wanna scrape off all those juices to go back into the pot. And then we're gonna turn this fire back down. We don't want that on high anymore. And we're just gonna bring that in. Look at that. And then we're gonna let this steam down. Oh, I can't forget, this is where we add in this one, sorry. We're gonna add in the tomatoes. And we're gonna add in the onions. And we're gonna let those cook down. Now you can add the onions in before if you want, when you add in the garlic and the ginger. You can add it in then, but whenever you add it in, it's good, as long as you add it. That's what's very important. Now look at how nice, I wish that you could smell this. This smells so good. And this is where we're gonna put the top on it for just a little while. And I'm gonna let that just kind of simmer down on the low heat for about 15 minutes or so. Our chicken has been cooking for about 20 minutes or so, which is like cooking down those herbs that we threw in. And let's look. Ooh, oh my goodness, that looks so good. You can see how yummy this is looking, right? And those onions and the tomatoes that we put in, they have like completely cooked away. And that's exactly what we want. Oh, it smells delicious. And it is really doing exactly what it needs to do. It's drawn some water from the steaming. So now we're gonna go in. I always like to do a little bit of, like the mama tasting. You put a little right here, and you taste it. Okay, so this is where you know, all right, so it needs a little more salt. We're gonna add our sugar in here. My mom always says that coconut milk brings a little bit of salt to it. So where's that needed a little more salt? We're not gonna worry, because now we're gonna add our coconut milk. Yum, yum, yummy in our tummies. I love me some coconut milk. Again, I know that is not traditional, but that's what we do. And then we're gonna go on in with those fresh herbs. So this is the tomatoes. My hands are washed and they're clean. When you're cooking for your family, you can do that, all right? If you're cooking and selling food, I don't ever use my bare hands. I'm gonna be using gloves. But I'm cooking for my family. They're gonna be eating this, so we don't have to worry about that. So you see how nice these fresh herbs look? on top there. And we're just going to let that cook. Now we're going to cover it, turn it down to a low fire, and we're going to let this cook now probably about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, okay? So I'm going to cover this once again, and we're just going to leave it alone and let it do its thing. It smells so good. And our chicken has been just on a low simmer for about 45 minutes. And everything is nice and tender. The chicken is cooked all the way to the bone, which is really, really important to make sure that your chicken is cooked all the way through. And now we're gonna get a little bit of a taste. My favorite, I'm a flats girl, so I'm gonna grab me a flat. Like I told you, I love how the potatoes and the carrots soak in all the flavors of that curry. Look at that. Look at the gravy. It's nice and thick from the smaller pieces of potato that we cut up, and everything smells so good. So let's go on in. I already know how good this is gonna taste. Gotta blow it because it's hot. It's got a nice little kick from the Grandma Audrey's pepper sauce. And there you have it. This is curry chicken, Stacy's curry chicken, day in the life of an island wife. And let me tell you, how you will serve this would be with some white rice. You can serve some coleslaw and some fried plantain. You've got an incredible meal. As we go, forward, I'm going to be teaching you how to put that whole meal together. But here you have it, a nice classic dish with curry chicken. You can't beat it. Day in the life of an island wife. Remember to follow me on social media, at Instagram and Facebook, Day in the Life of an Island Wife. And hit that subscribe button here on YouTube and make sure that you're following me so you can get all the alerts for our messages. And thanks again to our sponsor for this show, Child of God. You can visit them at childofgod.love and check them out. So good.